So, namaste and greetings. I, Fiza Mahajan, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav, एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. Today, we are gathered for a panel discussion on combating air pollution in National Capital Region as a part of our series, The State of Cities, #City Conversations. This deliberation is organized by National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, and IMPRI, Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi. The patron of the program is Shri Taj Hassan, IPS, Executive Director, NIDM, New Delhi, and the conveners are Tikendra Singh Pawar, former Deputy Mayor, Shimla, Senior Fellow, IMPRI, Dr. Simi Mehta, CEO and Editorial Director, IMPRI, Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay, Associate Professor, Vishwa Bharati, Shanti Niketan, Visiting Senior Fellow, IMPRI, New Delhi. Organizers of the program are Dr. Sweta Baidya Das, NIDM, Kushagra Khatri, Diya Goswami, Utkarsh Divedi, and myself, Fiza Mahajan, IMPRI. Now let me introduce the esteemed gathering. As the chair for the session, we have Dr. Rumi Ejaz, Senior Fellow and Head, Urban Policy Research Initiative, Observer Research Foundation, India. Welcome, sir. The esteemed panelists for the panel discussion are Ms. Bhavareen Kandhari, Founder, Warrior Moms, Mr. Vimalendu Jha, CEO, Green the Map, and Founder, Swechha, Professor Umesh Chandra Kulsresht, Professor and former Dean, School of Environmental Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, Mr. Himanshu Shekhar, Senior Editor, New Delhi Television Limited. We welcome you all. Now, without any further ado, let me invite our chair for the session, Dr. Rumi Ejaz, to initiate the deliberation with his opening remarks. We look forward to learning from the esteemed gathering. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Fiza, for the good introduction. Good evening, everyone, and greetings to the distinguished speakers and all the participants in the program. Thank you very much for joining us in this program on air pollution in the National Capital Region. In the past, a lot of work has been done to understand the causes or the sources of air pollution in the National Capital Region. And based on the learnings, a number of solutions have been designed and applied from time to time. Due to this, certain benefits have been derived, certainly. However, maintaining progress in this regard has been found to be very challenging. Unfortunately, as you all know, a lot of talk and action happens either during election time or when the air quality in the region deteriorates. Now, we are all familiar with the pattern of air quality in NCR. And to summarize it very briefly, I would say that air quality is best during the monsoon season, and that's due to natural factors. But it deteriorates at other times of the year. For example, in this year, in the month of October, beginning October, when the winter season begins, the quality of air deteriorated substantially when the agricultural activity related to disposal of agricultural waste in the fields all around Delhi began, and also due to bursting of firecrackers. So what happens is that when such events occur, then the color of the sky in and around the Delhi region changes from blue to gray. The visibility reduces substantially, and there is a lot of smoke and dust in the air, which makes breathing difficult. Now, natural factors play a big role in determining the quality of air in NCR. This would include the role played by the monsoon rains or the dust storms that occur from time to time. But we are all familiar of the fact that there are several human activities that are being conducted or that are being done in an improper manner. And these are related to sectors such as transport, construction, industry, and those related to solid waste management, the activities in agricultural areas, and also the bursting of firecrackers. I would say that these are important factors in determining the quality of air in the Delhi region. Now, this has implications for the environment. It has implications for the economy. And above all, it seriously affects the health of residents, citizens living in and around the Delhi region. It also disrupts city life in various ways. Once the quality of air deteriorates, then we know that a series of provisions are applied to control the problem of air pollution, and things such as students not going to school, or workers working from home, or construction activity is stalled, and other trade-related activities also are adversely affected. So we thought of organizing a program, this one, on trying to understand or to organize a discussion on what can be done in this regard, what are the constraints in the way forward, and the solutions have come to the table from time to time, and what are the difficulties being faced in applying these solutions effectively. So with these brief introductory remarks, I would like to invite the distinguished speakers in today's program, and I would like to begin inviting Mr. Himanshu Shekhar, who is Senior Editor, Political and Current Affairs with the NDTV. Mr. Shekhar, it would be interesting to listen to your views, particularly it's an important day today for Delhi. Our government has come into power in MCD. It is in the state government also. So would this, according to your assessment, make a difference? And they are also in power in the adjoining state of Punjab. Do you think these are indications of some progress that can be achieved with the same political party in power? And you may like to have your own understanding on this topic, which you would like to share with us. Over to you.
Yeah. Dr. Romisa, it's a privilege, of course, to be part of this interaction. And as you rightly said, I've been totally preoccupied with these results. I was in Delhi BJP office since 10:30 in the morning, and I left around 5 to join this conversation. And then in between, I was stopped to do a live at 6 o'clock on this. There's so much intense media coverage happening. And even now, just 1 minute back, I was told that, can I come for a live broadcast again? And there's another live broadcast at 7. So I'm actually part of this conversation in between the live broadcast I have to do. And this is, as my group editor said, that in his life, Srinivasan Jain's life, first time he was anchoring a show on MCD results. This has been almost like national elections are being covered. Normally, we have not seen urban local bodies being covered so extensively. But there is a very positive side, and I think I compliment you for asking me this question, is that for the first time in MCD elections, we saw pollution and urban waste become core issues, at least in the beginning of the campaign. I remember when the campaign started for MCD, I remember the pollution was going up in Delhi, and that dominated the political discourse at that time. And importantly, the COP27 was also on in Sharm el-Sheikh. And there was a lot of media coverage happening to what was happening in Sharm el-Sheikh as well. So a very comprehensive, I think the political discourse has been largely centered on two things. One, who is responsible for all the problems that you have delineated? Who has the moral responsibility for owning up for the failure of the civic agencies to actually give us clean air? And second is that what are they promising now? I can say as a political reporter, there appears to be a very clear absence of political will. In fact, even the election campaign that we saw, the MCD election campaign, was largely centered on allegations and counter allegations in terms of there was a lot of blame game happening. And there were very few constructive political interaction, discourse, discussion happening as to what are the contours of the problem that we face and why after decades we continue to live with the landfills that we have seen. Sir, when for the first time I was told to go to Bhalaswa Dairy, which is almost a mountain of garbage, I was stunned when I went there. The entire colony is located just half kilometer from where the Bhalaswa Dairy is, and people are falling ill and nobody thinks about them. They have very serious diseases that they suffer from, lung disease and other diseases. And a part of Bhalaswa Dairy, I saw myself, burns 365 days in a year. And as you know, that a large part of methane that is emitted in the air actually is emitted by these landfills. And that is, I think, one central idea on which I wish to center my presentation on, that the problem of landfill and our failure, collective failure to actually address this is one of the root causes of why we are actually forced to have a discussion like this. And the second, of course, the issue of Parali, for instance. As a political reporter, I can tell you when I was covering the government farmer union talks, when the protests were happening against the new farm laws, one of the first commitment that government had made on 31st December 2021 was to give a commitment to withdraw the ordinance, which had a provision for heavy penalty on those who were burning Parali. And we have seen that over the last couple of years, there has always been a question mark on how seriously the issue of Parali has been addressed. And whether even when you put in place penal provisions, we have rarely seen that kind of penal action being imposed on farmers, because this is seen largely as an issue which concerns every farmer in Punjab and Haryana. And there is always a question mark that in terms of the quantum of Parali that is being burned and the degree of action that is being initiated by the political parties in power in these two states. So I start my presentation with a ground report I had shot at the Ghazipur landfill. And I request Arjun sir now to play my story. It's a very brief 2.5, 3-minute story that was shot when the MCD election campaign was hotting up and the COP27 meeting was also happening. Yeah, please start. This is a rare drone footage of the Ghazipur landfill that NDTV had shot. I think the audio is visible, is available to all of you.
Audio no.
Meteorological organization ने अपनी World Meteorological. Now it has come. Go to the beginning, sir. कचरे के इन पहाड़ों से निकलने वाली मीथेन गैस दुनिया भर में हवा पानी खराब कर रही है। इससे प्रदूषण और जलवायु परिवर्तन का संकट बड़ा हो रहा है। विशेषज्ञों के मुताबिक करीब 20% मीथेन गैस कचरे के ढेर और गंदे पानी से ही निकलती है। संयुक्त राष्ट्र की संस्था वर्ल्ड मीटेरोलॉजिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने अपनी ताजा ग्रीन हाउस गैस बुलेटिन में आगाह किया है कि 2020 और 2021 में पिछले 40 साल में सबसे ज्यादा मीथेन ग्रीन हाउस गैस का इमिशन रिकॉर्ड किया गया है।
We need all hands on deck for faster, bolder climate action. A window of opportunity remains open, but only a narrow shaft of light remains. The global climate fight will be won or lost in these crucial decades on our watch. And one thing is certain, those that give up are sure to lose. So let's fight together and let's win.
पर्यावरण वैज्ञानिकों के मुताबिक औद्योगिकरण के बाद से वैश्विक तापमान में हुई वृद्धि में मीथेन का योगदान लगभग 30% है। 2021 में ग्लासगो बैठक में 100 से ज्यादा देशों ने ग्लोबल मीथेन चैलेंज साइन किया था। टारगेट 2030 तक दुनिया भर में मीथेन गैस के इमिशन को 2020 के स्तर से कम 30% तक कम करने का है, जो 2050 तक ग्लोबल वार्मिंग को 0.2 डिग्री सेल्सियस तक घटा सकता है। राजधानी में एमसीडी चुनावों में कचरा और प्रदूषण इस बार सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है। मंगलवार को बीजेपी नेता ताजिंदर बग्गा ने ट्वीट कर आरोप लगाया कि केजरीवाल कूड़े पर राजनीति कर रहे हैं। आम आदमी पार्टी ने भी पलटवार करने में देरी नहीं की।
कूड़े का पहाड़, कूड़े का पहाड़, कूड़े का पहाड़। आजकल अरविंद केजरीवाल कूड़े के पहाड़ की राजनीति कर रहे हैं और पिछले दिनों वो गाजीपुर में एक लैंडफिल साइट पे गए और उन्होंने उस कूड़े के पहाड़ को दिखाते हुए एक अजूबा दिखाया कि देखिए दिल्ली के अंदर ये कैसा कूड़े का पहाड़ है। आज मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, ये जो कूड़े का पहाड़ है ये लुधियाना के अंदर आता है, लेकिन अरविंद केजरीवाल ने आज तक इसका जिक्र नहीं किया, इसलिए मुझे यहाँ पर आना पड़ा। अरविंद केजरीवाल दिल्ली में आके कहते हैं इस कूड़े के पहाड़ को इसलिए हटा रहे हैं क्योंकि उनके स्वास्थ्य की मुझे दिल्ली वालों की फिक्र है। मैं आज उनसे पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आपको पंजाब के लोगों के स्वास्थ्य की फिक्र नहीं है, या आप इंतजार कर रहे हैं निगम के चुनाव का कि निगम का चुनाव आए और आप इसको फिर से राजनीतिक मुद्दा बना सके।
दिल्ली वालों परेशानी है कि उनके घर के बाहर कूड़ा है, गली में कूड़ा है, मोहल्ले में कूड़ा है, कॉलोनी में कूड़ा है, मार्केट जाते हैं वहां पे कूड़ा है, शहर के बाहर जाते हैं वहां कूड़ा है। और अब हर इलाके में दिल्ली में 16 नए कूड़े के पहाड़ बन गए। कोई नहीं चाहता गंदगी में जीना, कोई नहीं चाहता बदबू में जीना। बस जनता को पता है कि 15 साल से भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने दिल्ली में पूरा कर दिया है और जिस तरह से घर से निकाल कर कूड़े को बाहर फेंका जाता है, दिल्ली की जनता ने मन बना लिया है कि इस बार एमसीडी में भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी को बाहर फेंकने वाला है।
बड़े होते ये कचरे के ढेर एक चेतावनी है कि प्रदूषण और जलवायु परिवर्तन के मोर्चे पर चुनौती बड़ी हो रही है और इससे निपटने के लिए केंद्र और राज्य सरकारों को अपने अपने राजनीतिक हितों से ऊपर उठकर इस बढ़ते संकट से निपटने के लिए एक साझा रणनीति जल्दी बनानी होगी। दिल्ली से प्रेम सिंह के साथ हिमांशु शेखर, एनडीटीवी इंडिया। Yeah, thank you, Arjun sir. So, what did the political parties promise? I mean, Congress promised that we will clear up all landfill sites. BJP promised that they will clear 3 landfills by 2023. And importantly, the Aam Aadmi Party has also promised in MCD elections that they will solve the garbage problem in 5 years. Now, the importance of these commitments is that now when all these parties and their councillors sit in MCD, and they start formulating their strategy, there appears to be a political consensus on this issue, which I think, sir, the question that you asked, the answer is that this mandate is a mandate for all these promises that these parties have made. So people have given these parties another opportunity to sit together and chart out a new strategy to address the issue of landfills, which is a very great source of pollution in Delhi. In fact, Arvind Kejriwal in his victory speech has actually urged his councillors that we have to start from day one in terms of addressing all these challenges related with urban waste management and pollution. That promise, and he said that hame kooda saaf karna hai, Delhi se kooda ko hatana hai. In fact, Aarti Mehra is a former BJP mayor. I interviewed her today. She also said that in the MCD, we will put pressure on the AAP councillors to immediately start work on clearing up these landfill sites. We're not going to sit and allow them to just get away with the promises they have made. So there appears to be an urgency also to address this issue that we are discussing today. And if it's the urban local bodies, remember, MCD is one of the largest civic bodies in the world. It has the wherewithal, it has the budget. What it needs is a political will to actually address all these challenges and issues related with air pollution. And just one couple of points on the COP27 and the new roadmap that has been formulated there. And all countries, participating countries, have again given a commitment to reduce the emission of methane. And in fact, during this COP27, Bloomberg Green showed images of a landfill site in India which was emitting methane. That became the talk of the COP27. This was an image which was shot by GHG satellite INC, which of course monitors emissions in different parts of the world. And a high-resolution satellite image showed a cloud of the powerful greenhouse gas methane near a waste facility in India. So this was also flagged, the challenges, the issues in India's big urban centers. The issue of landfills and methane emission was flagged during the COP27. And the implementation plan that has been finalized at the COP27, it reiterates its invitation to parties to consider further actions to reduce by 2030 non-carbon dioxide greenhouse gas emissions, including methane. And the Conference of Parties will serve as a meeting of the parties to the Paris Agreement. And there has been a global methane pledge movement that has been on for several years now. And India is not one of the signatories. In fact, India is not part of this methane pledge. But at the COP26, the global methane pledge was first taken. And now the COP27 document says that methane accounts for 0.5 degrees of the 1.1 degrees of net warming that the world currently suffers. That is almost half of the problem that we are discussing. And targeted actions to reduce methane emissions this decade are essential also to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So clearly, there is a lot of action happening in MCD, in urban local body level, in the urban cities in India, at the global level. And I think we should wait and see that after this mandate that Aam Aadmi Party has got, and considering the fact that all three parties which have won councillors election today, they all have made big promises. So when they sit together, I think there is a political consensus on formulating and charting out a new strategy. And we'll have to wait and see how far they move and how they succeed actually in this endeavor. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shekhar. It was fascinating to listen to your views, and also the excellent report that you presented, the NDTV field visit-based report. I can say that this is one of the most credible sources of information that we have benefited from. And about your points on the landfill sites and their clearing, it is a very challenging task. Although BJP had claimed that they have begun to reduce the size of those landfills, but it's a gigantic task, I would say. It's not easy, because if you relocate it to the waste to other parts of the city or elsewhere, then there are implications on the environment, on the underground water, etc. And I hope the commitments made at COP27 are taken seriously by the elected leadership here. They respond positively to what is being said about the implications of not addressing the challenge of methane reduction. So very important points coming from your side. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to listen to you and to learn about your experiences.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to move forward in the program, and would like to invite Ms. Bhavreen Kandhari, who is also with us in the program. She's founder, Warrior Moms. And Ms. Kandhari, thank you very much for your presence. And we are, at least I am a little unfamiliar with the kind of work that your organization is doing. And we would like to listen from you briefly about the kind of work that you do and your views on the topic that has been chosen for today's discussion. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaz, and thank you so much, for IMPRI and the Disaster Management Authority, as well as the Ministry of Home Affairs, to do this, which is extremely important, critical topic. And we are a group of, we are actually really not an organization also, we're a citizens movement, and we're a group of mothers all over the country who are desperate mothers, I call, as I say always, and we are mothers who are trying to find clean air for all our children. So, I'm sure here, I don't need to get into any details as to how air pollution is or how many people are dying and how many are affected. And this is an extremely, terrible situation that we are in right now, and it's a public health emergency. We tend to hear these words and terms, and even right now, like Mr. Mishra was talking, it's just being said, but we are now mothers because as parents, it's very, very difficult to accept that your children are breathing toxicity every second of their lives. We can bear anything on ourselves, but usually a normal and, which is, I think, pretty much 100% or maybe 99.9% parent will never want their children hurt. And here is a case that we are now, air pollution is literally killing our children. We know that in the city, like I'm from Delhi here, and every third child has damaged lungs. There are rest of the cities, we don't have to now, it's not even Delhi-centric problem, it's all over the country. We have 65 most polluted cities of our country, who are the most polluted countries of the world. So there is a time now for we mothers are there talking about action now. It's not, there's enough advocacy. There is a lot of things being said, like all of yourselves know and people know that everything is on the Google. It's no more, 1999 when air pollution was a term that was not known. Even a vendor or a rickshaw wala and auto wala, everybody knows these terms. But the problem is that, first the narratives that are thrown on citizens like us, even the governments, various governments, both governments, like in Delhi, if you're talking about on a day like today, whether it's Aam Aadmi Party or the BJP, they tend to shift all the onus on the citizens. And everything that is, said and done, all these campaigns that are, actually being put out, in ways of headlines and advertisements in the newspapers, they all tend to ask citizens to move shifts or gadi on, off, and those type of things. Now, if a government that has actually called for a ban on crackers is burning crackers today, they are bursting crackers today, and the opposition who is there and who has still the police and the other enforcing agencies are not even taking action against it. So it's a complete failure. I'm speaking from the most polluted city of the world, and we are allowing these kind of various, loopholes that come in, and we are just not willing to take action. So in fact, all these years we said that intent, like Ms. Mishra also just said that, we need an intent from the government. I think it's more than intent now, we need a collective intent. Air pollution affects all. And as a parent, as a mother, as a citizen, and as all of you, your parents and grandparents, I'm sure we all have a common concern. So there is no reason for one party not to help the other or support. It's just ridiculous, and everything now has to be on a collective will. It has to be on, based on sound policy and then strict enforcement. And each one of them is lacking right now. Not lacking, it is terribly lacking. No wonder we are in this state. So we need policies and laws in place that prioritize the health of the citizens. So we tend to shift, to all the cleaner alternatives. And another thing that we usually are working on post, we as in the governments are always working on post disaster, then we start working. See, for example, now, as you hear, we're talking about the landfills. Why are we not stressing on the solid waste management laws and bylaws of 2016 that was supposed to be implemented? That means the waste segregation at source is the most important thing. You cannot clean the landfills and expect the landfills still not to grow. unless the waste segregation at source begins, because the waste will continue to come into the landfills. So that stop has to start on as of now. I mean, this is one example. Similarly, we love these smog towers type of equipment. We are, as far as the various authorities and governments are concerned, they love gadgets because probably they are visible and they bring votes to the government. So for whatever reasons, something that we already have, say, the trees of Delhi. They're the oxygen towers. They're the natural oxygen towers of Delhi, and we are cutting fully grown trees. I don't know if everyone here would know that we're cutting 3 trees an hour officially in Delhi, and they unofficially is separate. So it's almost 5 trees an hour we are cutting. So is that, I mean, there is no question of, when I'm talking about as a warrior mom, it means we are speaking of action, and the action has to be now. Our children, as you and I speak, we all speak here, they are still breathing the poison. So are we willing to, just take that and let our children breathe toxicity? Similarly, I mean, there are policies. There is a sound policy need in every source of pollution, whether, say, thermal power plants. Now, there are various judgments. There have been orders, but then still, the extensions are being given to the various polluters. So this is where the problem begins, is that the complete onus comes on citizens, and all these little kiddish campaigns and various advertisements are thrown on citizens, and the real stuff is not done. On vehicular policy, again, I mean, here is a city like London where they are screaming. The mayor there has been screaming about such terrible pollution, which is nothing as compared to a city that we live in. And they are making the ultra low emission zones and such big time congestion charges and emission charges. While in a city like ours, you can pay 20 rupee parking and go, one single person drives, goes, you send one car to pick up a tailor from a cloth from a tailor, or you send the other to get a grocery. So we are not understanding that that car or that vehicle is causing a lot of damage to somebody else who is not probably going to even sit in that car for the rest of their lives. So that charge, just the way just now we were talking of loss and damage, and the damage that the other countries have caused us, it has to be within the cities, within the urban mobility programs. We need to know the plans that anybody who's dirtying the air in another area or wherever they are is going to pay a price for that, for somebody else's loss of health. And this is exactly what we should be as citizens questioning the various authorities and government. And I mean, there are just so many, everything. In fact, we can take up any thing and we see that the policy is very weak. The policy is weak. And then whatever policy we have or the laws we have, we are not enforcing them. So everything gets into a big mess, and then we are where we are. And I mean, I don't need to repeat that, it's the air pollution is causing so much. It's stunt growth for the children. There is high instances of mental health, anxiety. These are all things that are going to affect our children, eventually the youth. So how will a crippled youth help the economy of the country? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of a lot of wealth that we will lose. So this is what we need to kind of work on. And like I said initially, the collective will is what is the most important part of it, that the governments will have to come together. They have to make a space where the scientific community, like all of yourselves, the policymakers, the government officials, also the private sector, and most importantly, the civil society will have to become a part. And in some ways, it has come forward. We've seen a lot of improvement in that sense, but it's still not working. And the fact that we are still living in the most polluted city of the world is quite evident that this needs to work on. So that's my take on the air pollution.
Thank you very much. I think you have very nicely described the situation in terms of explaining the violations that are being seen in various sectors, whether it's transport or green cover or the social practices of citizens, such as the burning or bursting of firecrackers, and the waste-related matters where violations are occurring. And the same can be said for, you rightly said it, for other sectors also. I agree with you on these points that each and every sector which functions in the city is showing weakness in one way or the other, because of which the problem is occurring. And your points about addressing the issue in terms of enforcement, stricter enforcement, and if adopting a participatory approach and a collective intent or action needed by governments is the need of the hour. Hopefully, the governments in the near future will give more importance to such problems which are affecting the younger generation in a big way. Thank you very much for your initial remarks. It was great learning from you, and I'm sure the participants in this program would have benefited from your views. I would like to now take this program forward and would like to invite Professor Umesh Chandra Kulshrestha, who has been waiting patiently. Sir, good evening. You are from the School of Environmental Sciences at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. And I learned that you have been a member of the GRAP, which was formulated by the Government of India, in which a couple of organizations were also a part of it. It was an important, I see this as an important intervention in the sense that once the problem deteriorates beyond a certain level, then a series of provisions are applied on the city and the region. I think GRAP is for the National Capital Region. And these have been applied from time to time in various urban sectors. You may like to share your experience of being a part of this novel initiative and your general impressions about the topic that has been chosen in today's discussion. Over to you.
Kindly unmute, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar, especially focused on NCR, air pollution. In fact, I have been part of EPCA, and then we took very stringent actions under the chairmanship of Shri Bhurelal ji, and results were seen in 2018 onward. And may I share some slides? Hello?
Yes, sir, please do.
Because I have
yes, please do.
Not analysis done for air pollution of Delhi. In fact, if you see it, are you able to see this slide?
Yes, we are. Sir, you can go
yes.
to yes, the first.
So as per the theme, the summary of action to be taken is reflected on this slide. Before going to any kind of debates and results, we have to analyze something, because we are also a developing country and we are having a lot of development, especially burning of fuels and that other activities. So air pollution, what kind of air pollution we have and what differences we have from temperate region that we have to analyze, and solution lies here. So these are the things which we have very different. This box, like very less rain events, mostly dry weather conditions. We have atmospheric dust, particulate matter very high, unpaved roads, open burning, plastic burning, adulterated fuel, defecation open, brake kiln, adulterated tire burning, number of vehicles we have too much, huge concern, and solid waste disposal problem like Valswa and Gazipur, these type of problems. So solution is here. What we are looking very similar approach what Western countries have air pollution, they have ozone pollution, different, but our problems are different, so the sources are different, and tackling is similar as Western. So solution we are not able to get. We have a lot of atmospheric dust since centuries. To add that, diesel-driven vehicle and this fossil fuel, they have added carbon in that. The carbon added dust become hazy and visibility becomes poor. And then the similar type of dust coming from plastic waste burning, other waste burning. So it's crop residue burning. So it's a kind of, some people are really giving, trying to confuse the policymakers, because all these carbon content, they are mixed with dust and hazy conditions come. We say air pollution, air quality index is very high. So we have to focus on this source aspect of carbon, whether it is plastic waste burning, crop residue burning, tire burning. So we found very peculiar thing that in Delhi, illegally waste tire burning was too much. That is called pyrolysis oil making. So around 125 factory was closed by committee of Sri Gurulal Ji. And that really gave us clue why ozone became high in 2019. Because when you stop this plastic pyrolysis oil making, the chlorine content in the air becomes less. So ozone is basically attacked by chlorine, and then quenching of ozone takes place in normal conditions. So it was during pandemic, and also after closing these industries, the air became cleaner and the sunlight became more. So ozone formation was other than the normal NOx chemistry. So plastic waste burning, illegal pyrolysis oil making, these are the primary causes in Delhi. Our analysis says that even Delhi people don't go anywhere, sit at home like Republic Day and other Independence Day. Even the PM level of required like national ambient air quality standards, we cannot achieve. So we are trying to achieve a non-achievable goals, in fact. So what we have to introspect these type of factors, how to reduce dust. What we have started, sprinkling water, vacuum cleaning, these are not really effective steps because dust is normally cleaned by rains. So we have to have some kind of holistic approach, holistic the kind of solution similar to, because it's open source and continuously giving input. Dust is transported from Middle East, third is to Delhi. Then Delhi has 3 types of dust: road dust, construction dust, and soil dust. So this is continuous input. How much you will clean with the vacuum? How much you will sprinkle water? Water is another problem of after a few decades, we will struggle for water. So this is something we have to see that another aspect people say crop residue burning. Crop residue burning happens only few days, few weeks, few months. But round the year air quality index is very high. So somewhere just West is saying, temperate region is saying, sake of saying we also, our scientists also sing the song. But our factors are different, we have to look. And so job of government is to look into these new factors, see the possibility what I have suggested, to look into the formation of artificial lakes in Delhi. Wherever water bodies are more, you have less pollution. Take for example, Europe. Everybody is going to visit Europe. Dust is less because everywhere water, backwater. The rain comes, pollution is vast. Here also in India, in Delhi also, whenever rain is there, air quality becomes yellow or green. So think of that, make more water body. Recently our paper is published based on this hypothesis of lake, that one of my students has done modeling, that where small lakes are there, PM 2.5 is removed little less, where near big ponds, water bodies in Delhi, removal of PM 2.5 is more. So why they go for simple solutions, long-term solutions, multiple purpose solutions? So I would like to just share this 2-3 slides more, that in Delhi, topographically or meteorologically, the whole region comes under Indo-Gangetic Plain. It's so much of benefit that pollution will never stagnate in this, unlike any valley. In valley, pollution is there. So only for few weeks, few days, this you will feel very high, sometimes foggy or smoky, that type of conditions. But the camel ride push, which I have defined, that it will be one throw of winds coming from westerly during winter period, another throw. So it will push to Himalaya, Himalaya to Bay of Bengal. And never it will stagnate for more than 8 to 10 days. That already I have published, and you can see last year also, every time looks like a few days you feel, but with the natural gift, whatever we have, the condition is quite favorable. The pollution is flushed out to Bay of Bengal. And we get transport of pollution from Europe, Middle East, Africa. At the same time, we are getting transboundary pollution from Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, UP. So Delhi is more affected by long range transport during winters and transboundary pollution around the year. And to name the most prominent source, that is brick kiln. Brick kilns are all around Delhi, thousands, lots of brick kilns, but they have a very wrong practice of burning tires in that, other than the prescribed fuel they have. So that become, source of black carbon and the chlorine, because we are noticing a lot of chloride in that. So if you look at this, we found ozone very high during May 2019 after introduction of GRAB. GRAB was introduced in 2018. So subsequently in summer at few sites like DTU, ozone was very high. People say the ozone is high, so ozone is pollution. No. Our analysis say it's a background value of ozone, which was suppressed by high carbon and chlorine content. If you go back in 90, when a lot of diesel, red line, blue line buses were there, Delhi was full of carbon. That time people did not measure ozone. So that value, if you go before that, ozone value will be of this order, because these values, higher values, what we say, they are matching with the rural values, means Delhi rural background area. So this ozone should have been, but due to pollution, or especially the burning of fuels, carbon sources, that was not there, and now we are again seeing during pandemic and also GRAP. GRAP has been very effective. We did a lot of work for solid waste also, and Gazipur, a lot of meetings, and in that one we found some states were very efficient, some states were not showing much interest. But overall, I think I am very happy that during EPCA we did, and now whether here is pretty good, I would say, compared to previous years and 90s. And this plastic waste burning is a menace that accidentally, we published paper in 96 when there was a big fire in Jwalahadi market in Delhi, West Delhi. We collected, and in that air sample dust deposition, we found very high chloride. Normally, sulfate nitrate we need to have, but after this fire, we had very high chloride, and that chloride we turned PVC in burning, and that same thing we noticed due to illegal this plastic waste burning, that chlorine become higher. And if you look at this is our several studies have resulted that after rain, air quality becomes better. So I have suggested, say published also, why not to create 2 minimum lakes in Delhi, one Haryana border, one UP border. By creating lake, we will achieve, not only air quality, good air quality, but we will recharge our groundwater system. We will attract tourists, biodiversity, green wealth increase. Also, it will help in reducing desertification. So, multiple purpose. So, we should have this holistic approach, because I have a program, holistic environment, that looks into this, not only one component, everything. So, you increase your economy, health, education, awareness. So, multi-purpose it is. We should look into that. In summary, I would say our findings already I have told: high atmospheric dust and high PM 2.5 and long range transport. And related to monitoring, we need to monitor not all the pollutants, but we are wasting money for that. We can have the pollutant, PM 2.5, chlorine, HCl monitoring, ozone monitoring, black carbon, and chemical emission monitoring, because these are basically driving force in Delhi's region, air pollution point of view. So we will have to monitor this. What we need to do, research point of view, health risk study, which are going on, and multi teams are involved in that one. One important aspect now, that is speciation of particulate matter. Up to now, we are dealing particulate matter, PM 2.5, that PM 10. But the content of that matter in Europe or North America, the pollution is mostly coming from vehicles and fuel burning, because the rest of the pollution, so they don't have this type of soil. So other things are very uncommon. We have to think that in India, we have natural source of particulate matter, especially North India. So in North India and South India, there is a difference, one order of difference sometimes in the level of particulate matter. So this needs to be speciated in terms of what is carbon content, what is metal content, what is organic and inorganic natural. So that health effect is not something with just PM 2.5 you say, and PM of Delhi, PM of Chennai, and PM of Washington may not be different, because anything happens in the body, and this happens through the chemicals, and the resistant power is against the chemical, not the PM. Right, so that we have to have chemically differentiated in PM standard. And as I mentioned, we should have 2 types. North India and South India standards should be different, because when you apply GRAP, immediately North Indian industries are shut down, because they come under that. But at the same time, pollution level is low, so industry, so it's a kind of loss to North Indian industry. Then in policy level, what I need to emphasize, that we have to stop plastic waste burning, open waste burning, and we have to, as mentioned by previous speaker, we have to focus on Valsava and Gazipur. This burning in these areas is also adding to confusion, and people are taking benefit. In sidewise, they burn plastic, and this fire is also going on. So this is another kind of action to be taken. Then old vehicle related policy, diesel driven heavy duty vehicle, these policies are in place, should be implemented stringently. And then Bharat 6 emission standard we have put, they should also be. Another aspect is we have to look into that Bharat 4 standard also, why can't we if all precautions are taken, then can we go, because a lot of manpower and lot of manufacturing units are still working on the previous version of that. So considering the emission aspect linked to economy, that we have to think of. Way forward, I suggest that holistic approach, example like artificial lake making, that we have to work on that multiple purpose. And in my opinion, there is no need of water sprinkling and having small towers, no need of vacuum cleaning roads, because as you might have seen, if near the truck, there are a lot of dustage, means aerosols are produced rather than collecting. With the both type of trucks, you take photo. So it's a new production of aerosol and suspending in the air, and then your air quality, because air is not something very static, it's a moving. So one truck is cleaning here, the air particles will transport it to other side. So that's why air doesn't have boundaries. So the transboundary pollution will come. So from that angle, these are the actions I think, in my opinion, should be taken by government. New challenge with the new government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kulshrestha, for sharing your analysis and drawing our attention to things that need to be done and that not need to be done. There were several good points in your presentation about the priorities which are more urgent in a certain area, but the time is being devoted to things that are not needed to be done. So, and your point on sustainable measures to be put in place, such as creation of artificial lakes, creation of new water bodies, or rejuvenation of existing water bodies. I think it's and also I would add to this point about protecting the green cover. These are very important controlling factors in addressing the issue of air pollution. And we will certainly look at your publications. Thank you very much for informing us about your recent papers on this topic. I think there are a lot of learnings for us on the data that you have analyzed and the findings from your studies. Thanks very much for sharing all these details with us. Now, I would like to invite our final speaker, panelist, Mr. Vimalendu Jha. Vimalendu, I apologize for inviting you at the end, but I thought you are the youngest and you would have more patience than the other panel speakers. Over to you, Mr. Jha.
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I should say that this is for the first time that I'm actually speaking on a panel that has the government logo on an issue called air pollution. So good and bad. Good thing is that yes, it's finally there's an organization associated with the government that's actually talking about air pollution. Bad is that on the day when the air quality is severe, you and I and the government is still discussing what is the cause and what is the problem. Imagine last 3 days in any city in the world, it should be, we should all be ashamed of ourselves. And, and the reason being that the day that the air quality is 500 and not for the first time for several days in last 60 days, the air quality has been so bad. Had it been any other country, you and I would not be sipping our coffee the way I was and having a very soft, nice, analysis and reflective conversation. This was supposed to be an action, but that's where we have arrived. And that's a sad commentary on all of us and our country and our state of governance. By the way, AQI 500, I'm sure I don't need to explain it to anyone what it means. Cities shut down, right? As in the qualified air, which is okay, is around 25. You can perhaps stretch it to 50. We are at least 10 times worse. Cities shut down, cities evacuate. When you call it a gas chamber, it's not an exaggeration. It actually is a gas chamber. But then it is all normal. It's all okay because, nobody's talking about it. Media will talk about something else. The government will talk about something else. Everyone is busy with their own lives. So we have unfortunately normalized bad air as ऐसा ही होता है, ठीक है, हर साल होता है, क्या कर सकते हैं? Now, when we are looking at analysis, of course, Dr. Kulshrestha spoke about several things. I will speak about certain things that I agree to his slides that he presented, and certain things that I disagree to his presentation. One needs to understand what Bhabreen was also talking about, my very, very dear friend, that in a lot of this, who is responsible for this? Responsible for two things, two parts of this entire air pollution dialogue or air pollution landscape. One is creation of problem, and the other is providing of solution. So let's look at who is the problem creator at the end of the day, because it's very easy, nice, and it's become like an oxymoronish term called collective responsibility. No, I'm not responsible for lack of buses. Please don't make me part of that collective responsibility. Please don't. I'm not responsible, nor are the citizens of Delhi or citizens of NCR for the lack of buses that we actually have. It is not collective responsibility. It is the responsibility of the government. Let's call a spade, please. Let's not beat around the bush. Point number one. Point number two, let's look at other problems, because the reason why I talked about transport is that 40% of our air pollution or ambient air quality is bad because of vehicular pollution. And we know the vehicular pollution means lack of public transport, because of which people choose individual private mobility as their only option. And of course, you can also talk about green fuel powered transport. That could be the secondary conversation to that. And in both the cases, lack of public transport or lack of clean fuel infrastructure for any form of transport is the responsibility of the government, and government has squarely failed, and I'm not responsible for this. So strike my name off that collective responsibility chart. Second, when we talk about the other source of pollution, dust, I'm very, very, very humbly, I would like to disagree with Professor Kulshrestha. No, rain is not a solution. You cannot depend on rain to solve your air pollution crisis. That's, sorry for my word, don't take it otherwise, but it's very, very unscientific and lame to think that rain will solve our air pollution crisis, because that's the excuse that the government has been using. If you look at the narrative last 365 days, every time, as in September 19th, the air quality index of Delhi for the first time was in satisfactory category, which means that it was under 50. And that was because of rain. And what actually happened, that it only stayed for the time, till the time that the rain existed or happened in Delhi, the air quality was perhaps a little bit satisfactory. It would be really, to think that Delhi's air will be solved by more rainfall. Like, we are not in Cherrapunji, we are in Delhi. There cannot be any scientific analysis, permutation, combination, as many number of lakes and river and you can bring Ganga into Delhi, but rainfall or creation of rainfall because of more water bodies and because of rain, dust settling down is again very unscientific. And second is that you're looking at, let's keep creating pollution and rain will solve it. End of the tunnel solution can never be a solution to a government crisis. As Professor Kulshrestha talked about, that of course, we are talking about two forms of dust. We're talking about construction dust, construction demolition dust, and roadside dust. And therefore, construction and demolition activities will have to be controlled, not the rain. And who is the biggest constructor and demolisher in Delhi NCR? It's the government. Who is supposed to be dealing with construction and demolition dust or construction demolition waste in Delhi NCR? It's the government. When we look at roadside dust, it's not road. I don't own the road. It's the government which has kept it unpaved or keeps paving the roads right, left, and center. So if around 30% of PM10 or say overall ambient air quality is affected by dust particles in our air, it is because of government's action and government's inaction, and therefore strike my name off that collective responsibility chart that you have prepared for yourselves. I'm not responsible for that dust, and therefore I'm not supposed to be held responsible for it. It's the government, whichever government. We started our conversation with MCD and Delhi government and central government, all of them. Yes, maybe I misunderstood your understanding of collective responsibility. Maybe if you meant collective responsibility of MCD, Delhi government, Punjab government, central government, then I'm with you. Yes, if that's your definition of collective responsibility, yes, that is there. Now let's look at the other source that we were talking about. That's when we started, the NDTV person was talking about, waste burning or landfills. Yes, it is. It's a very, very big problem. It still in many, many ways is a single digit contributor to ambient air quality. I've made documentaries, I've made lots of things about the monument of shame, the landfill. But again, who's responsible for, this biomass burning or waste burning or coal burning for that matter? I'm not responsible. At the end of the day, there are a dozen and more coal thermal power plants, or as much as India goes to COP25, COP26, COP27 and talks about green energy and all sorts of promises to be made and delivered, India still 75% of its electricity comes from coal. And therefore you have to look back and look at responsibility. So therefore, largely creation of landfills and landfills being sources of methane or, coal energy and thermal power plants emitting, challenging gases all throughout Delhi NCR. It's again the failure of the government. Then comes many, many other sources that we could talk about, which could be our power consumption or many of these things. So largely, we need to come back and deal with this issue with urgency and look at what is the mechanism to solve this problem. Who do I go to? Who does a common breather? Because there's, everyone is a breather. Everyone breathes. Some people can afford to breathe a little better. You would think that no, सब तो एक ही हवा सांस लेते हैं, नहीं, सब एक हवा सांस नहीं लेते. जो JNU में बैठते हैं या फिर मैं DLF में बैठा हूँ, तो हमारी हवा थोड़ी सी साफ है, और जो सड़क के किनारे एक झुग्गी में रहता है या लैंडफिल के किनारे बैठा है, वो उसकी हवा गंदी है. तो हवा एक जैसी नहीं होती है, हवा में भी क्लास है, इसको भी समझना बहुत ही आवश्यक है. It affects different people differently. So one is that your consumption, your quality of air depends on your class and your position in the society, and the effect that bad air has on you also depends on your class and your society. Let's not be naive about some of these things. Then the other mechanism that we've been fooled about, I'm sorry for my choice of words, because air quality is in severe category, and therefore it doesn't suit any one of us to just have an academic discussion on air quality. And that's why my choice of strong words. Is look at the mechanism. Who is responsible? The Delhi government, DPCC, almost 40 to 50% of seats are vacant. Then there's no one in the name of ground level governance when we talk about pollution control committee in the state government. Look at central government. There was something called Clean Air fund. We don't even know where that's going. We haven't heard a single word from the Central Minister of Environment in last 3 days or last 30 days or last 90 days, other than saying that it's somebody else's problem. So we've heard MCD blaming someone else, UP Chief Minister blaming someone else, Punjab Chief Minister blaming someone else. Everyone is just blaming someone or the other. And the monumental mistake that we've been making all the time, creating these fat bodies like EPCA and CAQM. Imagine such a powerful body called EPCA that was created. I would like, and I'm sure Mr. Kulshreshtha was member of EPCA earlier, one FIR. It was a superpower body that was created, was in power for so many years. Nothing really was done by these dozens of people and experts who sat there. Not a single industry was actually shut down. because of EPCA rules. Similarly, CAQM, a new elephant in the room that has been formulated, it meets, I think, a dozen times or less. But have you heard, other than the circulars that's been circulated by all of these very powerful bodies on paper? They're constituted by the court or by the laws of our country to be extremely powerful. But you know what Michel Foucault talked about? Foucault said, it's not just about power that you possess, it's the power that you exercise. Unless and until you exercise your power, you keep putting it, keeping your left pocket, shift it to your right pocket. How does it really matter whether you have one body or the other? So that's where I want to end my this thing. There's not much to say. Everyone is an expert here in causes and effects, and everyone is breathing this air, as I said, somewhat lighter, somewhat darker, somewhat deeper, somewhat on the surface. It needs stricter action and urgent action from all stakeholders, really, but from government, firstly, urgently, yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vimalendu Jha. That was a fascinating talk from your side. And the strongest point that we felt is coming out from your side is about the need for greater efforts on the part of government agencies to manage and handle the different sectors which come together to run the city. Your examples of transport and waste management and significance of other aspects that control the problem of air pollution, we welcome these. You are absolutely right in many ways about the present situation, and I think you should speak in our next presentation more about how to make these governments accountable. Now, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Professor Kulshrestha would like to say something with regard to the comments made by you.
Yes.
Professor Kulshrestha?
Yes, I would like to say something because Vimalendu has said many things with his experience. So I honor his view because everybody is free to say something, to express something, activate anything within that discipline, and as particular this type of forum. And I come from JNU, I was part of EPCA, but certain things which he mentioned are not in line with science and placing the facts. Because you may say something emotionally, doesn't matter. But what I said, that was totally based on facts and science, research, and my experience with committee. First thing, rain definitely controls particulate matter, and that I showed also. And a lot of papers are there. You might have observed, if rain comes, road is wet, column dust is clean, everything. So this is scientific. Science deals with data. So that is proven any number, and I gave example of that. You can see our paper, you can read. That is one thing. So the rain is very effective. By bringing lake, rain, you will have convective shower afternoon, like Himayat Sagar, Usman Sagar in Hyderabad used to be. Now they are dried up. Earlier there was no pollution problem. So lake is the solution for frequent rains or the capturing particulate matter nearby, as mentioned by our studies. And third thing, that EPCA did lot of work. Penalty, have huge penalty to the industry, those were defaulters. You are not aware of that. Because any committee or body can penalize and do the necessary thing like any kind of police FIR or that thing. So this is something, and that happened with Mr. Bhurelalji in chair. You can find the facts. And so frequently meetings, and all government were on task that those days, 18 to 20. So these are something that you have to collect facts and then you throw to the public. Not like any, sometimes journalists also do that. You are making movies, you can do, but scientists cannot do. And unfortunately or fortunately, the arrangement for controlling air pollution in the hand of scientists and some policymakers like that. So it's more of that. We have to find facts. And without that, it's not one-day job which can be done by scientists. You have to study, then you repeat it, then only you will find the fact. If this is so easy, then whole world, universe is facing air pollution problem. We have dust problem, other countries ozone problem, some carbon problem, and that is how Antarctica was also polluted, and we had ozone layer depletion. So this is something, what chemical age. We are using chemical everywhere, eating, drinking, traveling. So this will go into air. So we have to find the solution, but at the same time, if we are naturally blessed, why not to take advantage of that? Because creating lake is a very good solution for a country like India. We cannot afford more sprinkle with water. We are lack of water. Delhi is having, very, for last 5-10 years, low number, means per capita, water supply is reduced. Our water table is getting reduced. So water, you are wasting like this in air pollution control, that is also not good. So all these steps, what you mentioned, some are good and some are not in line with this kind of research and scientific discipline.
Can I just reply to that?
Yeah,
please.
Sure. Professor Kulshrestha, nobody is contesting that whether rain is good or bad. My first line was that the first good air day that we got in 2022 was in the month of September when it rained. But to say that rain is a solution to air pollution crisis or dust crisis of Delhi is a little stretching of your imagination and the imagination of solution givers. I'm very sorry, I'm not as educated as you are, but I've never heard of this as a solution in at least 1,000 public debates that I've been on air pollution, nor have I ever read in any part of the world to think that an urban issue, like we don't have land to create lakes. As when I can talk about, creating an Amazon rainforest here, but that can't be a solution that I can provide to an urban issue that we're talking about in the city of Delhi. In city of Delhi, which is constantly under construction, under urbanization, there's lack of land. In fact, the existing natural resources are at risk all the time. The existing lakes and forests are actually at risk all the time. And therefore, to even imagine. So I'm saying that, to imagine as a solution to air pollution that we will create lakes one day, so much so that every day it will rain, so that we will not have to sprinkle water on the roadside dust, is somewhere I feel a little, it's a little unheard of. And it is, I'm not trying to call you unscientific or my term being unscientific. Rain is not a solution. One, two.
You mentioned unscientific, that is why.
Unscientific in terms
you mentioned.
Unscientific from an air pollution, combating air pollution crisis. Of course, rain, if I throw water on dust, it is going to settle the dust. Unscientific from the point of view of not science, but from the governance science, from the part of social science. It is not feasible. It is not something that is heard of. That's point number one. Point number two is that I'm not making it personal when it comes to EPCA. Reality is, and I'll share with you several reports that have actually come on what happened when EPCA was there. Not a single time Section 19 that was there, which meant that you could actually, you only wrote letters to, you in the sense the EPCA only wrote letters to secretaries and chief secretaries throughout their term of whatever number of decades that you were in. Not a single criminal complaint was lodged against anybody in the entire tenure. So, it is not about you. We are talking about failure The reason why we have arrived despite having an EPCA or despite having a Ministry of Environment is why we are breathing, because people who, it was a body that was a highly empowered, the most empowered body on air pollution was EPCA. And if I'm still breathing the severe air quality, that means that there's something not terribly wrong with the way air quality or air quality control, governance, or management was actually done by that body. Someone has to be responsible, right? As in, it just can't be that you have a committee and you have circulars floating from one government office to another, because that's exactly, and I can share several reports with you, that it was just passing circular, and sorry for my choice of word, but it was every year the season of air pollution is when we heard about the tea parties or the circulation that was happening in EPCA, rather than a single criminal complaint that was done. I don't want to get into an argument, but what we were looking at is that we were looking at how do we solve the problem. Do I want another EPCA? Do I want another CAQM? Not really, if it can't really catch and send a single person to jail. Not a single, as I'm telling you, and I will agree to if you tell me the contrary. Not a single criminal complaint was filed against anybody ever in the tenure that EPCA was around. So let's look at solutions. We cannot be just celebrating things because something that we did wrong in the past.
If you are over,
एक second. Something terribly wrong we must have done in the past, right? In terms of our governance, in terms of our urbanization, in terms of our legal structure, in terms of our lifestyle, in terms of our growth. That's why we have arrived here. Let's accept it. If we were all doing things correctly and everyone was doing their job rightly, we would not be in a position where we get one good air day a year, and that too because of rain. That doesn't mean that I want to bring 365 days rain as a solution, as an urban planner or as a person with scientific temperament.
Let me say that EPCA did, and you are breathing, the GRAP brought into EPCA in 2018. Because of that only now things are okay. Before I was member.
GRAP is not a government agency.
This is not the way. Please, I was thinking that you see, you are from social background and you can speak, but we can speak only with the facts. EPCA, you see 2018 onward, how much penalty, you see the file, we have penalized so many industries and government, and there was no party, not even drinking water was provided in the meeting, no HRA, TA, DA, we used to travel by own vehicle. So don't say this was, so if you don't have facts, please do not give to such type of forum and don't confuse with
sir, why are you taking it personally? No. I'm saying something else. I was telling you and asked you specific this thing and tell me, was there a single criminal complaint? And it's not about you, sir. I'm saying something else. I'm saying if these institutions...
Let me complete. It's not that you are just jumping. If you have completed now, let me say, if you go, if you want really, you take
I had not
data.
completed when you jumped in. So anyway, I'll allow you, your senior. I'll let you speak. Please go ahead, sir.
So you see the file of EPCA, how many companies were penalized for that heavy, it's not a small amount, and how many meetings were taken. That
I am using a word for criminal contempt.
See, you have mentality only to blame. You negative thinking people are like that.
Always thinking. I'm glad I'm negative thinking. You
so
be
that
positive
way,
then.
We are from education, so we have to help. So that is what the problem. You are just running your show, and for that you are blaming all government efforts. There are different bodies. Definitely, 100%. Sometimes it's not there.
The fact that we are breathing such toxicity is the failure of every authority before this. Everyone.
See,
I totally agree.
But always there are improvements. Efforts are there. So from that angle, you see, suppose this was not there, like it happened in 90s. If you are there in Delhi, air pollution was much more air pollution was there in Delhi in 90s. If you see the data. So
Sir,
that
it was
time,
not because of EPCA, it was because of Supreme Court. And GRAP is not called governance. Please, let's take this out of our system. GRAP is an emergency measure. Let's not hide behind GRAP. GRAP is when situation becomes worse, GRAP becomes activated. You're not supposed to be really bringing in GRAP and odd even I'm not right. Why are you taking it personally, sir? We're
We
saying
should be working all year round so that the GRAP, we don't come to the GRAP situation.
you don't need GRAP.
Certain data, you have to have data, and then speak. Don't just like
I have
that.
all the data. I'm telling you all the data. GRAP is
Positive
based on
language and
data.
negative then. So see, that
No,
is where.
First of all, I object to your choice of words. Don't call this negative people in this thing. I'm not calling you anything. You are sitting in a position of power to which you were referring to, which I refer to. I questioned your science based on RAIN and your position of EPCA. Let's not call someone negative and positive and this and that. I'm breathing bad air and I have every right. Don't say you're a social person, you are this person. Right. Talk on facts. And I told you, and I will accept if you show me one FIR and one criminal complaint.
I have an RTI.
FIR is not the FIR is not the proof. You see the EPCA file and penalties and go to authority. Unfortunately, that is closed now. Commission is there in practice. You can take data because otherwise, many things, when you talk just like that without facts,
okay. I think
I will send you paper which is scientifically proved that scavenging, wet scavenging of pollutant is effectively done by rain. And that is why in Europe, you don't see there every time it's raining. So you don't have particulate matter pollution. You have ozone problem there.
Are we seriously saying that we should solve air pollution crisis of Delhi by bringing in everyday rain? As I'm really surprised, amused, and I'm laughing.
Okay, Mr. Jha and Professor Kulshrestha, I would like to intervene at this moment. This discussion has been very good. It was a good interaction between you. And that was the purpose behind holding such a program, that the things that are of concern to an individual or the panelists come to light. And the challenge before organizations or academic institutions such as IMPRI or where I represent is to document the ideas, document the interactions in the best possible manner so that the best knowledge is produced, which can be utilized by those who are responsible for bringing about a change. Thank you very much. I would like to ask the organizer if Professor Anil Gupta is still with us. He's convener. He represents an important institution. If he is present, he may like to say a few words before I hand over the floor to the organizer.
Professor Gupta is here, but I will check with him. So meanwhile, we have a lot of questions. We can take a few. Fiza will help us read them out. And
okay.
Yes. And Neha Jindalji and Dr. SP Singhji have raised hand. You can ask a question. SP Singhji, you want to go? Please go.
Okay, respected chair, thank you very much to all panelists that we have been enriched with the knowledge and the ideologies from the environmental point of view, social point of view. Being an economist at the Indian Institute of Forest Management in Environment and Developmental Economics, I would like to give only two important suggestions that is pertaining to how social sustainability can be attained when we are facing this air pollution. Number one, ecology is damaging at the one side, environmental burden is increasing. But at second time, being an economist, first side, we are going to see only the two dimensions. First is production side, second one is consumption side. And what would be the demand and supply elasticity of our air quality index? And we have seen a number of index there in our economy in the world. The number of indexes are there. My simple saying is there, we are the people, those who have gone for the developmental indicators of the growth that is related with the polluting air and water. First. Second one is, as much as the pollution is there or waste generation is there, This is some part of the developmental indicators, because means production is there, consumption is there, waste is going to be generated. And at last, we are going to suffer from the three important services. That is the ecosystem services that what we are getting and what our human well-beings are getting. Means there is a debate between human well-being and ecological well-being. To sustain human well-being and ecological well-being, a disequilibrium is there. That what we are gathered here and listen to a very rich panelist, and they have focused on that how we are going to combat this air pollution. But from economics point of view, there is a huge cost of investment that we are spending to get a fresh air. We have seen during COVID-19, that is the medical oxygen, that we have transported from industries. What is the cost that we have paid to save our own mankind? These are some of the things that, from my point of view, that whatever the experience I have gathered here at Indian Institute of Forest Management, which is an autonomous institute of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. This is definitely going to affect the climate change too. This is a simple saying. There is no question of arguing with my panelists. This is a simple suggestion from my side, being an economist, that what I can suggest and do for this country that we are doing. And recently, 2 or 3 years back, we have organized one very important prestigious program that is a green skill development for air and water control pollutants. As what Professor Umesh Chandra Kulshrestha has given the highlights, data. All scientific empirical studies are based on data. Whereas in social sciences, it is based on perceptions and the data what we are going to gather. On the second side, from economic dimension, there is a cost theorem of externalities. That is the payment of ecosystem services, whether the fine should be imposed or some FIRs should be lost, or our basic thing is one, ecological sustainability, social sustainability, economic sustainability, rather than political sustainability is also important, whereas awareness and this conservation of the present green structure, that is a green infrastructure we are talking about, that what we require. From my side, this is over, and thank you very much, respected platform, EMPRI and NIDM, that they have given me at least 2 or 3 minutes after listening all our expert panelists. And so kind of you, with respect and regard to all panelists, that they have enriched with a very good knowledge. This may be an example for our generation which is coming and whom we are teaching at present. They are the future torch bearer that who can control and contribute in combating the air pollution. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, sir.
Very nice.
Thank you for your sharing your experience and informing us about the work that you're doing. Grateful to you. Now, we would like to move and ask if there are other questions from the participants.
Fiza, you can read some of them.
Yes, sir. One question is from an anonymous attendee. Can you share more on how farm fires in Punjab is influencing air quality in Delhi NCR? And the other question by Parth Sharma ji is addressed to Mr. Jha. The question is, what as a citizen can we do? What solutions do you place on the table to mitigate this? Cursing government can't be an overall solution. It's what all people do. And another question is, प्रदूषण को रोकने के लिए प्रदूषण मार्शल जो लगाए गए थे, वे कहाँ पर हैं? वह अपने इन दिनों के अंदर जो प्रदूषण हो रहा है, जगह जगह कूड़े के अंदर आग लगाई जाती है, उससे जो प्रदूषण और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बाहर निकलती है, उसको रोकने के लिए सरकार क्या कदम उठा रही है? नालों के किनारे कूड़े के ढेर में आए दिन आग लगी मिलती है. रघुवीर नगर दिल्ली के अंदर नाले में आए दिन कूड़े के ढेर में आग लगी मिलती है. उसको रोकने के लिए सरकार क्या कदम उठा रही है? क्यों नहीं एरिया की सिविल डिफेंस के वार्डन और वॉलंटियर की जिम्मेदारी लगाई जाती है उस एरिया में प्रदूषण कम करने के लिए और आग को रोकने के लिए?
Okay, thank you. I gather there are three questions, three main questions. One is about the farm fires. How much do they affect air quality in Delhi? Any of the panelists, but Professor Kulshrestha might have to say something in this regard. The second point is about citizens' role in mitigating pollution. That was directed to Mr. Jha, if you would like to comment on this. And finally, the third point about the whereabouts of air marshals who have been tasked with this activity of controlling the problem, and about the problem of waste burning. Why isn't something being done in this regard? So one by one, please, starting with Professor Kulshrestha. Very brief comments.
In fact, farm fire is only for few days, few weeks in the season out of 365 days. So only thing is that it is coming, and the issue is more related towards implementation of new technology. So this is, but in my understanding, it is very minor effect, only for limited to few days, and we have to look into the alternative. So we should not burn it. The message is in farm fire emphasis is to go for the new type of seedling technology, harvesting technology, so that carbon emissions in the air are minimized. And so this is indirectly message in all type of pollution studies, go for cleaner energy. So the thing we have to take that way, not that it's a blame, farmers are blamed from that point of view. Because with the growing education and technology, we should opt new technology, definitely. But at the same time, farm fire is not much affecting Delhi. That is what out of 365 days. Only thing, again I say, anything is happening with the, right, I mean, to confuse the public and government. Recently, I was seeing air quality index near Punjab towns are good. How Delhi air quality index is bad. So this is something we have to look into. It's not jumping and concluding something. All governments, no government want to get blamed. They put all efforts. Only the teams, bodies, efficiency make that. So this is something.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Kulshrestha. Mr. Jha?
Yeah, so very briefly about this farm fire issue, and then I'll come to what citizens can do. Very specific answer to what the gentleman asked is that contribution of stubble burning is an episodic source of pollution, and contribution of stubble burning to ambient quality of air in Delhi ranges from 0% to 35% on any given day in the 40-day window normally. And that's how it actually is. So there is a lot of science. SUFFER actually does a whole analysis of contribution of farm fires to Delhi's ambient air quality. One solution to that to farm fire is not technology, is not looking at new seedlings. It's looking at changing the crop pattern. Again, as I'm saying, it's not about uga lete hain, ugane ke baad kya kare uska. A state that, or a region that does not eat a particular crop so much, a lot of it, we could look at diversification of crops, and that's what a lot of workers and a lot of governments are now starting to work on. Rather than growing paddy, can we grow something else? ताकि ना रहेगा बांस, ना बजेगी बांसुरी, ना रहेगा स्टबल, ना होगा. तो उसमें MSP की बात है, हमें पानी की समस्या की बात है, बहुत सारे इंटरलिंक्ड इश्यूज हैं फार्म के बारे में. स्पेसिफिक सवाल कि हम गवर्नमेंट से सवाल क्यों पूछते रहते हैं, हमारी क्या जिम्मेदारी बनती है, एज सिटीजंस व्हाट कैन वी डू. Unfortunately, a lot of times we cannot be looking at private solution to public problems. We will have to look at public solution to public problems. As I said, I can't, as in public transport is in a dilapidated state. Unfortunately, a citizen can't go and buy a DTC bus and donate it to the government. When I'm looking at, over 16,500 trees that's actually being chopped in Sarojini Nagar and different areas, as Bhavreen said, that every hour government of Delhi gives permission to cut 5 trees. What can a citizen do in this? It's the role of the tree authority. So yes, there are certain aspects that you could look at from a lifestyle point of view. How can we live sustainably? But more than that, we all need to be, a role of a citizen is not just to run a Save Water and a Save Tree campaign and to draw and write an essay about environment. It's indeed about changing your lifestyle, but at the same time is also to be an active citizen and asking for accountability and responsibility and good governance from the government. That is also his citizenship. And for issues like these, where we have arrived at a degraded Yamuna and a degraded air, and not just of Delhi NCR, as much as we are discussing Delhi NCR, of Northern India, we will have to have a governance model. There's something wrong in which we are actually growing, developing, and doing economics. What Dr. S.P. Singh was talking about, 150 billion US dollar is the overall loss to our economics because of air pollution. And the reason why I was talking about criminal contempt and criminal charges, 1.5 million, 15 lakh people die in India every year because of air pollution. So when you have a loss to economy of 150 billion annually, as the World Bank says, and you have Lancet and ICMR telling you that 15 lakh log vayu pradushan ke karan marte hain, then we will have to look at doing things differently. We cannot be growing stubble and then looking at what is the best technology to cut stubble. We cannot be really, buying private vehicle and look at how do we make it electric vehicle. We will have to shift. We will have to look at crop diversification. We will have to look at public transport. We will have to look at sources of energy, systemic change. Because आप ये समझो ना, हमें क्रोसिन की जरूरत नहीं है अभी. आप आईसीयू में है तो आपको बड़ी चीजों के बारे में सोचना पड़ेगा, बड़े मुद्दों के बारे में, और आपको कुछ fundamentals of urbanization and growth को भी question करना पड़ेगा. क्योंकि if you want to continue like this, you might be able to build one more flyover and plant 500 trees, लेकिन उससे आपका air quality index 500 से 50 पे नहीं आने वाला है.
Okay, thank you very much. May I ask Miss Bhavreen Kandhari if she has any final remarks to make?
Just on the same lines, Ji, I won't take much time because I know everybody of what Vimlendo said. I'll repeat again, as what I said earlier also, a sound policy. That's what is it. It's so important to have a good policy. We cannot have, we're living in a city where we are choking. We cannot expect people only because you lose votes doesn't mean their policy will not help. You will not make a good, sound policy. And then once you have a policy or a law, to enforce it in true letter and spirit. That is another challenge because कानून तो बहुत है हमारे पास, बहुत अच्छे भी हैं कई. But as we all know, the implementation is so poor. Since I just said waste management, we're talking of landfills, but jab tak we will not be able to, implement laws, the 2016 bylaws, or, this is just one example, or like Vimlendu said, good public transport, and efficient and cheap, everything, good connectivity. These are the kind of things that we need to work on. And anytime I'm, हम दुनिया से loss and damage मांग रहे हैं, लेकिन हम क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर? If my car is costing, it's a high emission car, and it goes into an area and causes pollution to somebody else, I should be liable for that, and I should be paying a price for the other person, or दूसरे के बच्चे के लिए I should be paying that price for it. So this is what is exactly the government should work totally in this sphere to work, towards clean air. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yes.
Sir, I am Dr. Sandesh Yadav, working as an assistant professor in Center for Disaster Management, Jamia Millia Islamia.
Sir,
I don't have any question, but I have a point, sir.
Please go ahead and make your point.
So we are the people of Delhi are facing a tag of a gas chamber, okay, and maybe because of the surrounding industrial region, they are contributing to the air, and our air quality is also getting degraded, and we are suffering on that particular account. So what my point is that because you people are in higher authorities, so we need to raise this particular point. We need to curb that surrounding contributors which are contributing the air pollution, and so that we can more or less can lessen the burden on the air of our city of Delhi, sir. This is what my point is all about, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your point. We are running out of time in this program, and I would like to, although it's not easy to summarize so much information has been shared by the distinguished panel, and the participants also have given good inputs. But to summarize, or to make an attempt from my side to summarize the entire dialogue in one sentence, the three most important things that are coming out from this discussion is about the sound policy towards which Ms. Bhavrin Kandhari has drawn our attention to. The information about the better functioning of government departments, something which Mr. Vimalendu Jha has repeatedly emphasized, that governments have a larger role to play. They have a more important role to play, and less should be expected from citizens who may not be contributing to the problem. It's all about planning and managing urban growth. And the other important point from Professor Kulshrestha is about that there has to be a scientific basis to deal with such problems. And this point is also welcome, because we often learn and hear and do the work that is based on evidence. So scientific evidence based on data and facts, although some kind of interaction and participatory approach works best, scientists have to listen to social scientists also. They might have a different understanding, and they may draw their attention, which scientists would factor in at the time of applying techniques, etc., in going about addressing an issue. From my side, I would say that it all boils down to the proper conduct of human activities, whether it's in the transport sector, whether it's to do with construction activities, whether it's to do with the agricultural sector or the construction industry and the industry, factories, etc. I would say the government has an important role in ensuring that all of these sectors run in the most efficient manner. Whether stricter monitoring or enforcement of laws is required, whether more awareness is to be generated among the citizens regarding a certain activity that they do, or better directions and advice or support is given to the farmers in terms of how they should go about in handling the agricultural waste that is generated from season to season. So it's a combination of many things, and government ultimately has to play a larger, more important, make greater efforts towards addressing this issue. I would urge IMPRI, because they have taken up this important initiative, to document the impressions that have emerged from this discussion. Although it's a challenge, but an effort has to be made in terms of taking the best points from this discussion and putting them down on paper and disseminating it widely, because that's all that research institutions can do. That's their job. And if it comes into the notice of policymakers, then they would certainly look at the points that are generated through this discussion. I would like to now hand over the platform to the organizer, Dr. Arjun, who has played a key role in contacting the experts and the participants and putting this program in this format. Over to you, Dr. Arjun Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So to give a brief vote of thanks, I request Fiza. Fiza, over to you.
Thank you, sir. So as we come to the end of this extremely enlightening panel discussion, I, Fiza Mahajan, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi, would like to formally propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the IMPRI Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies and NIDM for joining the panel discussion on combating air pollution in National Capital Region as a part of our series, The State of Cities, #City Conversations. We are grateful to Dr. Rumi Ejaz for chairing and leading the talk. Thank you so much, sir. We'd like to express our gratitude to the panelists for today's session, Mr. Himanshu Shekhar, Ms. Bhavareen Kandhari, Professor Umesh Chandra Kulsresht, and Mr. Vimlendu Jha for taking out their precious time to share their views and enlighten us, and for adding diverse perspectives and valuable insights to the deliberation. We thank our conveners, Professor Anil K. Gupta, Dr. Simi Mehta, Shri Kendra Singh Pawar, and Dr. Soumyadip Chattopadhyay, and our organizers, Dr. Shweta, Kushagra, Diya, Utkarsh, and the entire IMPRI team for their hard work. And of course, we thank all our participants here on Zoom or on live platforms for participating and raising pertinent questions. We are grateful if you are watching us later on YouTube or listening to us on our various podcasts or reading our publications. I hope that you continue to tune in future to our IMPRI #Web Policy Talks. Thank you once again, and I wish you all a very good evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.